And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Thursday. It's my Friday. I don't know about you, Nikki, but it's my Friday today. I'm so excited.
I work Fridays and Saturdays, so.
Well, I love all my people, but I'm excited. I'm headed out for the weekend. So I'm excited to be live here today. I'm live here with Dr. Nikki, and we're going to talk about all things spirit. So we were just so excited today because we were like, we get to talk about all the woo-woo side of things that not everybody likes to talk about, because we think that it's like somehow this mystical world or this crazy world that, not everybody's a part of. But I'm excited to be here because I believe we're all part of this world, and you and I get to share part of it today with everybody. So I'm excited as you're coming in. Please say hi to us. I'll let Nikki introduce herself for those of you who don't know her, so that you can get to know my beautiful friend Nikki. Nikki has some amazing things that she does that are totally different from what I do, but we can all come together and talk about all this beautiful spiritualness. So I'll let you introduce yourself, Nikki.
Hi, I'm Dr. Nikki Nienhaus, and I am a chiropractor and a fertility expert and a tarot reader and a medium. And it's been a long journey getting to all of these places. So I live and practice in St. Louis, Missouri, and then I do, the tarot side of my life is all online. So I connect with people from everywhere. But Gina and I met in a mastermind together, and yes, she's right. We do very different things, but we do very similar things too sometimes. So I choose to practice. My chiropractic practice is mostly women during their reproductive years. So I work with women who are trying to get pregnant or already pregnant or have just had a baby, and I work with babies too. And so through that, and then through developing my mediumship, I also developed a whole fertility program that works with helping women who are wanting to get pregnant and having trouble figure out what it is that's keeping them from being able to bring their babies earthside. So that's been fun.
That is so cool. I mean, I'm totally intrigued by this because I know, we've talked about this a lot in the mastermind, and, you've had to, it's kind of been a coming to Jesus for you here recently to realize, this is something that is needed here. Like, there's lots of people who can't figure it out, who don't know how to make it work. And that's where you and I do come together, because we get to talk about the whole connecting with the spirit world, because that right there is the bomb. And for you, it's made such a huge difference in your business, being able to connect with these little ones, being able to see what they need. What is it that they need here? What is it that they're not ready for? What is it that they are ready for? How can we help them? Because to me, that's part of connecting with the spirit world too, is seeing how we can assist them here, and being their kind of voice on this side of the veil. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, and we'll just kind of have a conversation here. We're just going to kind of chat. And if someone has comments, hello, Michelle Thomas, and hello, Laura and Valerie. And so if you have comments or you have questions for Nikki or I or whoever, just put them in the comments. We can see them today. So all is well. So can you see him, Nikki? Do you see me? Okay. All right. So I'll just talk to you about comments, and that's okay. And so go ahead and talk about what you do.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting journey, because I've been a chiropractor. I'm coming up on 5 years now. I was pregnant myself when I graduated from chiropractic school. So I've been practicing about a little over 4 years. And I've always wanted to specialize in, working with pregnant women. But what's been interesting is how the universe has sort of led me to where I am now, because I worked in pediatrics before I became a chiropractor, and then, moved over into sort of I don't want to say OB-GYN, but that sort of like women's health kind of area. And then I started reading tarot, and I loved it. And I was surprisingly good at it. And so I started sharing that with people. And then it was like October last year, October 2020, when all of a sudden, like, mediumship just kept coming up for me everywhere. And I was like, I don't actually know if I believe this is a thing. So I started like reading books about it and just like researching. And I thought, oh yeah, talking to dead people, not actually a thing I'm ever going to do. And the universe was like, oh, but you are. and so I did. and I love to do it. It's like just in general, helping people connect with loved ones that they miss is just such an honor. But I've been doing it about 6 months, so it has not been that long. I've been doing it about 6 months, and it was like April, I think, March or April. I had a dream one night, and it was like my guides came in and they said, "This is what you're going to do now." And it made everything make sense, like the chiropractic part of it, and then the mediumship thing, which seemed real weird, and then it was like, "Here's what you do," and then they explained to me how I see people's babies. Like if there are babies that are waiting to come in, I can see them. I see them as little lights. I don't actually see people. But they explained it all to me. Pink and blue, and pink and blue means you're already pregnant. Yay. And then like purple and green means there are babies that are ready to come, but something's holding them back. And those are the ones that I work with. And then there's like this gray that I can see that means that there's a possibility of a baby, but either the woman or the man or the baby itself hasn't decided it's ready to come yet. And so it all came together, and like this great love I have for working with pregnant women or helping women get pregnant. That's like my real passion. And now I can talk to their not yet born babies and find out what it is that's keeping the baby from coming. So that's sort of been the journey. And I was like, oh, this all makes sense now, because I love the mediumship, but it's not like my passion. But this is.
While you were talking, there's a couple things that came up for me, because when I did my live on Tuesday in here, I was doing readings for people, and we were talking about the stepping stones to get where we get. And just because I studied under amazing mediums for a couple of years, and I did my student teaching with them so that I could teach mediumship, which I still do teach mediumship, because I freaking love teaching people how to connect, because there actually is a science to it, which people don't think. Like, they think that it's all just this woo-woo crap and you're the chosen one. And I'm like, some of us, we are, like, we come here predestined to do it, but we can all learn how to connect with this. It's just, we're not all concert pianists, it's just like we can all learn how to play the piano, but it doesn't mean you're going to go on and be famous and be this concert pianist. It means we can learn to use this ability, which I call it.
Right. It's a little of that like nature versus nurture argument. Right?
It is.
Like we're all a little bit psychic, but there are those of us who find it a little bit easier to do different parts of it or embrace it or whatever. So, yeah, I totally agree.
And I've studied under some amazing mediums, and we've all and I even see it too, because I can connect with them. I can teach you how to connect to your people. It's how much do you want to put into it? How much do you want to do it? And so, I find this all very fascinating as we are led and directed and kind of follow our path, our breadcrumbs, so to speak, to get where we're going. And I know sometimes we get bent out of shape because we're like, well, why'd you make me do that? Because it was another stepping stone. It was another layer for you to learn. It was another thing for you to connect with. So. And then I also loved how Michelle says, Nikki, you are flowing today. She said, that's what I told her too. Doesn't she look amazing? I was like, oh my gosh.
Makeup, you guys. I guess I should
and Michelle's also saying, let's see, you're glowing today, she said. And she said, what a fascinating journey, to find our true purpose. And that's really...
It's really interesting, because I found mediumship sort of, I hear a lot of mediums talk about how they've always been able to like see spirits or talk to spirits or whatever. And that's never been my experience. Like I said, I was not even sure I thought this was a real thing. And, but like, I can't deny it anymore, because I'm like, I know things that people tell me that I shouldn't know. And so obviously I'm not just like making this stuff up in my head.
Yeah.
But it's always weird. It's like, it always just boggles my mind that I'm like, this is a thing that I'm actually doing.
Yeah. Well, and I felt the same way when I first started, and I felt somehow like that I was different. And I realized that we all just have a pathway. We all just, we do what we do because that's where we're led. And I have been able to, I didn't understand it at the time. It scared the holy shit out of me, but I have seen spirits since I was little. But I didn't understand it, being raised in a religious home. Like, I had no idea what all this meant for me, like, and how it fit into my life and why. Because I was taught, we were only supposed to be able to see things for our families, and I'm seeing all sorts of stuff going, what the heck does that even mean? Like, why are you showing me this? What is the purpose? Like, and so for me, it took me a long time to get it, and I shut it out for a long time because I didn't understand it. I didn't know what the heck it meant. Like, but then I see people that have things happen to them in their lives, and it just shows up. And to me, it's not any different. It's just the timing. This was your timing. I mean, I shut it off. It may, and probably looking back, maybe you do sense and see things that you're like, oh, maybe that's what that was, or kind of have these moments, these aha moments. Maybe.
You know, I've always been, well, now that I know the word use, right? Like, I've always been very clear, sentient, I guess. I'm a feeler, and so I feel things, but I learned at a very young age not to trust my feelings.
Yep.
And so learning to trust my feelings again has been the biggest part of this journey, strangely enough. Like, learning to like just believe when I get a sinking sensation in the pit of my stomach, or like a body part starts hurting randomly. I've learned to like stop and tune in and be like, is that mine, or am I feeling it for someone else?
Yeah.
You know, and that's because like I can look back on being a kid and know that I had feelings about things, and I didn't oh God.
Are you okay? Oh, you just lost you lost.
Somebody tried to call me. So
oh, there you go. I'm like, oh, I think we lost her, but
yeah. Oh, that's so weird. I can't see you anymore.
Did you just click out of the screen?
No, I mean, I can see me. I just can't see you. You're just a black hole. That's so weird.
Okay.
Oh, now you're back.
Okay. Okay. Like,
so
okay.
Sorry. No, I can feel that. I mean, I can look back and see that I felt things, but it was sort of taught to me not to trust that. Yeah. So that's been the unlearning has been as much as the learning.
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand that completely, because I think that's probably one of the biggest things is learning to be like, oh my gosh, you're right. I have felt things, I have known things, but can I trust it? And do I trust it? And do we step out of that logical mind into the irrational mind? Because that's what it seems like sometimes, is very irrational, very weird.
And I was raised by a very rational
I was too.
My dad especially. But yeah, like trusting your intuition, if that's what you want to call it, wouldn't have been a thing that either of my parents did.
No.
So
mine either. It was all very rational, very religious based, very we do the religious thing. You just do it because you're told to do it. Don't be questioning it. And then there's us over here going, but wait a minute.
But
wait a minute.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, that's not going to quite work, because this is what I saw and this is what I've known. And yeah, I'm with you now that I know what I know. And I've said that to people before, because I've had religious people tell me, well, what you do is not right. What you do goes against God's will. And I'm like, how is that going against God's will? You're helping people to heal. You're helping people to bring babies into this world. We're of service here. We're not doing anything wrong. And so, you know, I've said that to people. I'm like, I don't get that. Doesn't make any sense to me. Like, religion or no religion just doesn't make sense. Like,
I'm the same way. And especially because, when people try to use it, they do it for tarot as well. Like,
yeah, they do.
I grew up Southern Baptist, and like we weren't even allowed to play like playing cards at church. Like I went to the church daycare and they wouldn't let us play cards, and I was like, I don't understand. And so, but tarot just offers direction, right? Offers options, and for me, I'm like, how is that bad? If I don't use it for bad, right? Like for evil, then how is it evil? Like I don't understand.
Yeah, because I guess because there are people, if we want to talk about the flip side of that, there are people who do use it to manipulate and to get people to do what they want them to do, because it is easy to manipulate people in a vulnerable state. But for those of us who choose to use it in love and light, and use it for what it was ordained to be used for the highest good for all people involved, like, this is where we can step out of that and go, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I was actually compared one time. I kind of laughed because someone compared me to like the religious cults that they used to talk about where they would like, yeah, I've had one person say that to me and I was like, come again? How did you
Yeah.
from there to like the religious cults? Like we're taking them off in the corner, we're gonna gas them all later. Like, I'm like,
No one is drinking Kool-Aid. I think we're fine.
we're fine, we're good. Yeah, there's no Kool-Aid involved here. So yeah, so I'm very interested. Let's talk about these babies that you connect with because I think it's so cool. Because we were talking a little bit about that before we started too.
I don't believe that infertility is a real thing most of the time. So, and when I say that, I'm for people that are struggling to get pregnant. I don't mean to be triggering, but generally speaking, real infertility is found in like 3% of the population, and the number of people that struggle to get pregnant is a much higher percentage. I don't know what it is, but I think it's like 40%. Like it's relatively high, and so it goes to, so the doctor side of my brain says that it's related to, you know, lifestyle and diet and exercise, and you can take care of a lot of that, but most people go there first and then still have some trouble getting pregnant. So the other parts of it are the spiritual part that I just geek out on. But you know, I look at things like past lives can be part of it, or ancestral wounds are a big thing I see a lot. Like a woman struggling to get pregnant, her mother or even her mother's mother, or even further back, had some sort of birth trauma that she's carried forward and it's showing up in her. Or it can be like, just even in this life, but just like past sexual trauma or things like that can cause blockages, right? Sometimes it's just a need to deal with healing your inner child. It didn't have to have anything to do with your reproductive history. But one of the things that's interesting is that when I talk to the spirit babies, that sometimes it's things that people don't even think about. So the very first time that I tuned into one, it was a little boy, and I was for a friend of mine. I wasn't even like doing it professionally. She just said like her son and his fiance are having trouble getting pregnant, and they've been trying for a while. And she's like, "Can you see?" And I said, "Well, okay, I'll see what I can figure out." And it just like very clearly, I said, "There's a little boy waiting," and I said, because what he said to me was, "My dad doesn't want me, and I don't want to come if my dad doesn't want me." Mm-hmm. I took that to mean the dad just didn't want kids. So I said, "Is your son as into this as his wife is? Like, are they on the same page?" And she said, "Oh yeah, he really wants a baby." And I said, "Okay, because I've got a little boy here who's saying that he doesn't." And she said, "Oh, well, that's interesting, because he had a really interesting relationship with his own father and with his grandfather, and he's afraid of being a father to a son. Like, that's a real fear that he has." And I said, "Okay, well, I think he needs to work through that in order to be able to have a baby, because the baby that's waiting is a boy. So he's not going to come until he knows he's going to be wanted." Mm-hmm. And that was the first time I did it. And I was like, "Oh, that's weird." I did a reading for a woman the other day. I saw twins for the first time, which was really interesting. Like a little purple and a little green light. And they were like linked somehow. Like they sort of reminded me of like the Olympic rings, you know, like they were like overlapping. I'm like, "Oh, I think these are twins." And the woman I was reading for said, "Yeah, that would make sense. I've always felt like I was going to have twins." And I was like, "Okay." Okay. Yeah. But it was really interesting because the boy was like not high maintenance at all. He just was not coming without his sister. Like they came as a package deal, and he was waiting on her to be ready. And she had two complaints. One of them was her parents were both very career driven, and she was trying to express to me like she wanted to know that she was going to be accepted for whoever she was, and that if she wasn't driven, that it was going to be okay. But then her other thing was that the paternal grandmother lived in the house, and she said, "I'm not coming until she doesn't live there anymore." And I was like, "Ooh." And so I said, "I don't know your mother-in-law." That's what you're saying. And she goes, "No." I said, "You know, I feel like maybe that just needs to be worked through. I don't know. I don't know that they'll get the mother-in-law to move out." But it was really interesting. It's interesting how they have just these little things that we wouldn't think of that say like, you know, this is what's holding me back. And you're like, oh, well, that's easy.
That's easy. You can do that. Yeah.
Why don't we ask them more often?
Right. Well, and I was just thinking too, you know, when I have connected with these little ones, I've had a lot of them stay, and I usually connect with them after like a miscarriage or after, you know, a stillbirth or after, and I would ask them, what is it, you know, because this reading's for the purpose of healing, you know, and of course all moms want to blame themselves because they think, you know, we just didn't eat right, or we didn't sleep enough, or we didn't do all the things, I drank too much pop, you know, while I was doing all of this or whatever, you know, and maybe that had, but when souls are not ready, or when things aren't ready, they're just not ready. Like, and so I've asked them before, and it's like, you need to tell my mom it wasn't her fault. Like,
Michelle Thomas did a reading for me, and because I had a miscarriage before I had my daughter, and I blamed myself. And let's be honest, I was very stressed. I was in chiropractic school. Yeah. I mean, there were definite physical reasons, but she did the same. She connected to my baby, and she said she just wasn't ready. Like, it wasn't you. She just got scared. And I thought, and it really did make me feel better. Yeah.
Well, and they know, that's just it. Like, they know this whole thing. Like, they understand their purpose too. They're still very much in spirit, and they know when it's right and when it's not. Like, and maybe their timing was just to come and to start building that body and to start exercising that, and it's just not their actual time to come. Like, and there is a timing thing. Like, I think that's what we miss out on. Some we think, well, I'm ready. Well, it doesn't mean the soul's ready, and it doesn't mean that everybody is like lined up and all of our ducks are in a row yet. Like, it just doesn't mean all of that.
I have a close family member that their baby, who has not been conceived yet, came to me like out of the blue. I was driving my car. I mean, it was a very weird thing because I was like, all of a sudden there's like this child talking in my ear, and I was like, hello, who are you? What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And she came to say, like, because these people that I love had lost a baby, and they were really hurting, and I was like, oh gosh, I just want it to work for them, you know. I can't read for them because I'm too close to the situation. But
yeah, I agree.
She talked to me, and she was like, listen, I'm coming. They weren't on the same page. I didn't feel like it was the right time, but I'm gonna come, like, tell them not to worry. I couldn't tell them not to worry because I couldn't tell them, like, because they're not into this sort of thing. But it made me feel better to know that it was such a strange experience too, because it was the only time that's ever happened, and I think it was because I was so close to the situation that I didn't like go in asking, you know.
Yeah.
But she just like showed up and was like, listen, it's fine. Like, they weren't quite in sync, and I didn't want to come until they were, but they are now, so I'm coming. And I was like, okay. So
all right.
I'm waiting on a pregnancy announcement any day now.
You're like, come on. That's what I think is hard for us too, is because we see these things and we kind of know these things, and then we're like, all right, Spirit, you said it wasn't very long. How much is not very long? Like, what is the deal? Why is it long?
The person in me, the Scorpio in me that likes to know and keep secrets, always wants to be like, come on, are you pregnant yet?
I know.
No.
I know. Spirit timing is sometimes very different from our time, and we forget that. And sometimes they forget that too, when they tell us, you know what, we're coming, it won't be very long. Yeah, it'll be soon. Well, what the hell is soon? Like 6 months, a year, like 10 years? Like, what's soon?
Right. When time means nothing to you, soon could be a decade from now.
Right. I know. That's what. So Michelle said, I think this is when we were talking about the infertility. Mine had to do with not wanting to be born a woman. So my soul resisted it. It must have been her not wanting to come here. So yeah, and that's a real thing too. Like, I know I had some of my kids that came into this world. That's interesting that she said that. Not really wanting to be here, even though they were here. Like, and I've worked with infants who are alive, who I go back in and talk to their soul, and they haven't fully integrated into their bodies yet. Like, they don't want to be here. They're like, whoa, wait, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I want to do. Usually these babies are super fussy. They're crying. They're having hissy fits. They're not sleeping. They're not eating. They're not doing anything well. And, usually with just, what?
That sounds like my kid.
I know. Well, some of them, I think we forget sometimes too that their souls, our souls, we all have this soul, And even though we thought it was right in spirit, then we get here and we're like, oh, wait a minute. I think I changed my mind. I think this sucks. I mean, I can't stay warm and gushy and nurtured and cared for inside the stomach anymore. Well, I don't want to do it. I'm out.
That is one of the things that I talk to my new moms about all the time. I'm like, listen, I know they cry a lot, but think about what it would be like to go from being like comfortable and warm and dark and just like so at peace for your entire life. And all of a sudden things are loud and cold and bright and mom is
you a bath.
Your mom's heartbeat 100% of the time. Like, it's shocking. Give them a little grace and hold them a little more than you want to, because they need it.
Yeah.
You're right. The transition is harder for some babies than it is for others.
It is. Yeah. And I've seen that. And I didn't know that when my kids were born. And I wish I would have understood that, because it would have put things in a different perspective for me. Because I had one baby that cried for a freaking year and a half, I swear. Straight, solid, like, and it would have been nice to have been able to like at least go seek out my psychic friends and say, hey, can you help this kid? Like, because as moms, we're super close to it and we're exhausted and we're tired but you know, there are things that we can do to help these little ones integrate better into this world, because it's not always roses. Like,
and I also have a belief that our children come here to push our buttons.
Oh yeah.
Like in a good way, right? Like they come, like I have done more spiritual growing, or just like growing as a human in the time since becoming a mother than I did in the, 33 years before that. But so I just think it would be nice if if everybody was made aware of that before our babies came, like, and part of this program that I offer for like figuring out infertility, it's not just for women struggling with infertility, because it's also for women who just want to get their stuff together before, like, do a little bit of their own growth before they become mothers, so that they're not like forced into it. Because good grief, the growth I've done in the last 4.5 years since my daughter was born is, like I said, more than the 33 years before that. So, I mean, part of it is just that I think that's the reason we pair up with them, is that they're there to grow. But.
Well, all of our experience here is about growth. It's about experiences. It's about growth. It's about doing all the good things. And so why wouldn't our kids be part of that? Because they push us emotionally, physically, mentally, like all of the things. Spiritually, you start second guessing everything you ever even thought you knew. Like, just have a baby and it throws it all into a cell. Just get pregnant and you're like, oh my gosh, do we belong to the right religion? Do we, like, all of a sudden you start questioning everything you've ever known? And it's like,
and I say to my pregnant patients all the time, I'm like, the first lesson of parenthood is you don't control anything. And the way that they teach it to us is by babies choosing to come when babies choose to come. Like, because you get to that end of pregnancy, the last month or so, and you're like, oh my God, just please, can it be over? Like, just get out of me. And I have yet to meet a mom who wasn't just like, I need this baby to get out. And I'm like, welcome to parenthood. We control nothing.
Yeah. And I still kind of chuckle at the people who really just like try to control nap time in every little aspect of their life. And I'm like, okay, you know what? You need to take a deep breath. Because part of your growth here is understanding just like you have no control over anything. And if they want to take a nap, they're going to take a nap at 9:00 at night. And that really sucks when they do that, because
they just don't nap like mine.
Yeah, or they just don't nap and you're exhausted and you can't wait for 7:30 to hit so you can put them to bed, like perfect time. Let's see, Charity says she had one that was stillborn at 18. You blamed yourself for 27 years. I'll let you can talk to Charity if you want, and if she's still on here with us. I think she probably is. She's had a stillborn, and I think at 18, I think is what she's saying.
Charity, did you ever try to connect with that baby and ask about it? I had a pregnancy loss before the miscarriage, before my daughter was born, and it was I spent a lot of time talking to that baby and saying, like, okay, we weren't ready for you, so it's probably good, but when we are ready, please come back. And I think there's, you don't have to see a psychic or a medium to be able to talk to your own babies. I mean, you don't have to see a psychic medium to talk to anybody, but especially to connect with your own baby and say, like, I just want you to know I loved you and you were wanted, or thank you for the lessons you taught me. You know, whatever it is that you feel like you need to work on, like that you need to say to your baby, you can always talk to your baby.
Absolutely. They're always listening. I think that's the thing people don't realize is they think, oh my gosh, they're gone and they're not here. Oh no, they're still right here with you.
And you know, when I had my reading with Michelle Thomas, where she talked to the baby that I lost, that she said, like, I think that you're going to meet this baby at a different time in your life when you're both ready to work together. And like, obviously she won't be your daughter, but she'll be like you'll be in a mentor position for her. So it's still a bit like a parenting thing. She just wasn't ready to be your kid then. And that actually made me feel better, right? So like so now I look for it, right? When's the day that this woman's going to show up in my life? I mean, it'll probably be a while from now, where I feel this instant connection and like I know I've known her before. And so I think sometimes, you know, when we losing babies, I mean, more women than you know have lost babies. And it's never easy. It's never easy. But I found
it doesn't matter when you lost them. I don't care if it's 3 weeks or, you know, 7 months. Like,
it genuinely doesn't, because any pregnancy, even pregnancies that aren't planned or particularly wanted, are painful to lose, right? Like no one no one gets an abortion lightly, right? Like no one takes miscarriage just like, oh well, you know, that just doesn't happen. And so I think that I found peace, and I think most people find peace through trying to connect with those babies that we lose to find out what it was that stopped them from coming, because it's almost never our fault. In fact, I always like to say, if you think it was your fault, like if you are processing like, how could I have done better, then it probably wasn't your fault. Like, right? Like anything is like asking yourself if you're a good mom. If you ask yourself if you're a good mom, you are a good mom. Because the bad moms don't ask.
They don't care. They're not worried about whether anybody thinks they're a good mom or not. And that's what I think too. I think, you know, most of us generally are just trying to do the best. We do the best we can with what we have. And there's things that are just not for us to, it just wasn't the right timing. Timing's off. Something's off. Like something's just not there. And it's easy to blame ourselves because that's the human side of us. And we think we want to make sense out of this loss and why it hurts so bad. So we blame whatever, our diet, our family life. Maybe it's just, I'm too stressed out. Maybe there's just and are those things going on? Probably. But I can guarantee you with the work that I've done and the work with you done, that's a very small portion of what's going on here.
Yeah. I mean, there are always physical things, right? Like there are people with weird genetics that mean that miscarriages are more likely. And yeah, that's true. But I also think there's always a spiritual connection.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to life and loss, just in our lives in general, I don't think we lose people accidentally. I mean, I think every loss in our life, whether it's someone dying or just leaving our lives, is there to teach us a lesson. Now, do you want to hear that? Like, my mother died 14 years ago. And if you had said to me at her funeral, which several people did, oh, there's a reason for everything, whatever. Like, don't say that to someone who is newly grieving. No. But eventually, I think most people find the lesson. If you're willing to, you can find a lesson in a loss. And I did. And it honestly made it easier for me.
Yeah. And there's a lesson in every loss, whether it's just like what you're saying, cancer, losing our mothers, losing a child, you know, I know people that lose lots of people over and over and over and over. And I'm like, what is it that you're supposed to get from this? And I know you don't want to hear that because you want to blame God and you want to blame this world and you want to blame, you know, stupid people and all the things, you know, but there's something here for you to learn. Like,
I believe in soul contracts, right? So like,
I do too.
Honestly, it made a huge difference for me when I finally got to that soul contract idea. And I was like, oh, so we did this on purpose. Because I had a hard time losing my mom at a really young age. But knowing, like, I mean, I still have feelings about it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, I still cry. But knowing that we signed up for this, right? Knowing that she on purpose knew that her life was ending then, that was the work she came to do.
Yep.
I felt so much better about it.
Yeah. And I agree. You know, I lost my brother. I've talked about that several times on here when I was 17. And it was my senior years, right before graduation. It was for so many things. And it was such a tragic, because it lasted him to suicide. But there was a reason now. This year was his 30 year. It's been, you guys can do the math, how long I've been out of school. But yeah, you know, it was his 30-year anniversary, if you want to call it that. I don't really like celebrating the death anniversary, but it was, and there have been so many lessons. And even this year, I still had another healing moment from all of that 30 years later. And it was strange to me how it came about, but the healer in me knew that it was exactly how it was supposed to be, because we get these opportunities, if you want to call them, for another level of healing. But I look back over losing my brother. He's the reason that I started doing mediumship. He was the one pushing me on the other side, telling me, nope, you got to get out there and you got to do this because it's not for you. You said you wanted to help people. This is how you can help people. Yeah. This is what you want to do. Then get your butt out there and get doing it. Like,
I hear that a lot from people when I connect, like do mediumship work. I don't know if you do too, but that their person on the other side says, listen, I can do you so much more good from this side. Like, that's why I'm one of your guides. I follow you around. I like, you know, I work in your life, but and my mother has said the same to me. I talk to her all the time. And she said, like, she stepped in as like one of my guides. Like, she is on the team. I really think she runs the show, but you'd have to have known her. You know, but she said, like, I can do more and you can do more with me on this side. And we work better as a team with her on that side. And I miss her every day, but it's so nice to, like, I get that a lot from when I talk to people on the other side. They just say, like, listen, my time was over and I can do you so much more good on this side. And that helps people, I think.
I think so too. And it's been healing for me, and I know it's healing for a lot of people when I say that. Yeah, your grandpa and grandma are not here anymore, but they lived an amazing life. And do you know who is your biggest ringleader on the other side? Do you know who is pushing you? Do you know who that voice is in the middle of the night that you wake up to and says, get off your ass and get this done. You've got things to do here. Let's get moving. And they are our biggest cheerleaders. And sometimes we don't think that. We think they have left us or we feel abandoned by them. And we're not abandoned by any of them. There's still, spirit is so much a part of your life, whether it's a child, whether it's a grandparent, whether whoever it is in your life, they're still very much with you and very much a part of you, just in a different way, because spirit sees us so much differently than we see ourselves. And they're seeing the spiritual aspect of you. Yeah. That's why I have people say, well, what about my husband passed away? Is that going to be like weird? What if I get remarried? I'm like, no. It's not that kind of weird. You don't understand. Like, they don't care who you share your bed with afterwards because they understand that this was part of the plan.
In fact, I have talked to people who are like, he got remarried and tell him I sent her, I really think that that's more likely. If you lose a spouse and you meet a new someone that just feels right, like the chances that your dead spouse sent them your way are very good. Like, she got to the other side and she was like, that one's perfect for him. This is exactly what he needs. Yeah,
we're handpicking him. And because why wouldn't they do that for us? That's what I tell people too. Why wouldn't they do that for you? They still want what's best for you. This isn't some weirdo jealousy thing that we got going on the other side, that they're going to like push all the men or women out of your life. Like, they love you and they see your spiritual side of you and they see what you need to do and who you need in your life to help you continue on to grow and to continue on in your journey. And because there are no mistakes, there are no coincidences. We don't just happenstance to fall onto people and they become part of our life. Like, I just don't believe in that anymore. There's too many. To me, you start talking about soul contracts, you start talking about all these things. And I signed up for the difficult times and the good times. Right. Dang it.
Right.
Dang it.
Sometimes I remind myself of that. I signed up for this. This is a thing I did on purpose. Learn the lesson so you don't have to do it again.
Right. And then I asked myself, what the hell were you thinking?
I don't think I thought this through very well.
I think it's kind of like having kids. We don't really think it through, and then we're in the middle of it, and we're like, what the hell were you thinking?
Kids, they said. It'll be fun. It's
Yeah.
so rewarding.
Yeah, really. At 2 a.m. cleaning up here. This is rewarding. I'm feeling it.
Reward. Would you like to borrow my reward for
Yeah.
a minute?
We say that about our dogs now. Our kids are all grown up, and get a dog. You don't have kids anymore? Get 3 dogs. It'll be fun. Like, yeah, really? Great.
Do you want to babysit?
Yeah, I'll babysit. It's probably easier than the dogs. So, do you have any other place? Charity said, I recently found out that he waited to bring me through an overdose so my daughter could be born. See, like, our kids they're here to help us too. These babies, Charity, I feel like I need to say, these babies they're souls. They are, people think that they're these little tiny infant little things that are their bodies that way, but they're still souls and they still have a journey. And I think some of us get these wise souls who know that we need them and that we need their help, and they're here offering that for you. So, that I think that's a super cool thing to know and to understand, because, I think there's so much more. I think what mediumship has done for me, Nikki, and you can, because I keep getting hit with this, like, you need to say this. To me, mediumship has done for me, it has opened me up so wide to what this life is really all about and what it's not about. And our human side of us wants to make it about the human side, and that all these tragedies, and we have to come here and struggle and hurt and be in all this pain in order to leave here and somehow earn a great reward at the end. Or but this other side of me, the spiritual side of me goes, my gosh, no, this is an opportunity. This is growth. This is such a gift to be here. And part of that is losing loved ones. Part of this opportunity here is all the little gifts that come with it along the way, which can hurt and they can be hard, but it's how we approach them and how we see them. And we don't get there in 3 minutes or less. Like, you don't lose somebody and go, oh, well, all right, that was just part of it. We have to grow through it, and it expands our horizons. But being in this mediumship world has opened me up to, oh my gosh, there's so much more. And
I think that, grief is very real and very heavy. And I know that it offers some respite for people to be able to connect with their loved ones and know that they're okay and know that they're still watching over them and all of that. But it eases the pain a little, even for me, in knowing that I may not be able to see them anymore, but my loved ones are still right there.
Yeah.
And if I call, they will answer. And that, honestly has offered me more comfort than religion ever did.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting because I felt like the work, you come here to grow, right? Like that is our point. And for me, learning to feel all the feelings.
Mm-hmm.
After my mom died, I spent a lot of time numbing, right? And so I feel like learning to have allowing myself to experience the human experience.
Yep.
All of the emotions, good, bad, and ugly, that we often try to escape. But that's the whole reason we're here is to have the human experience. And if you don't allow yourself to have it, you just have to, like I said, I don't want to have to relearn these lessons. I want to do it this time, and I don't want to do it again.
And I used to say that too, and now I'm like, okay, well, if I have to get up more than once, like, what am I? But it's actually asking the question, what is it that I'm supposed to learn?
Well,
is it?
You in the group the other day that said, okay, if we're going to deal with this, I'm going to do it now. I don't want to deal with it again. Or was it somebody? One of the girls in the mastermind. I thought it was you.
It wasn't me. It wasn't today's call. I wasn't in the room.
No, it was a while ago. But
somebody
said,
I know someone did say it. We all kind of laughed because, and I used to say the same thing too. And I remember my guides telling me, Gina, you just don't know what you just don't know. That's what they told me. And I was like giggling. Great. So here we go with more of what I don't know.
But I do think, because I think we have a progression, right?
Oh, yeah.
These are the lessons I came to learn this time.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to, if this is what I have to learn in order to get to the next level and learn the next lessons, Like I want to learn the lessons.
Yep, that's exactly what I was getting to. It's like we get it in layers. I believe you can't handle all of it at one time. So they give it to us in these little layers. And sometimes we think we're relearning the lesson. We're not. It's at a deeper level. Yeah. It's at a deeper, we're getting deeper. This is what I deal with in people with healing. They're like, but we've already worked on my self-worth. And I'm like, no, you worked on it up here. Now we've like peeled back the layers of the onion and now you're down here. Like,
I just found myself saying that so many times in the last like month. Like, oh, I thought I'd done this already.
Yes.
Like, yeah, no, you did this. Now we're doing this.
Yeah. And like I told you, about my brother. I mean, 30 years later, and I'm having a sob and heaving. You would think it just happened yesterday. Like it was the most healing, deep healing. Like, and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm grateful for that. Like that all needed to come out. I didn't even realize that was still hiding in there. You know, it's like.
Well, at the beginning of the mastermind, I was a big sobbing mess over the grief over my mom, which was 14 years ago, and which I thought I had dealt with enough. And apparently I had not. And I assume that it will come up again someday.
Yeah. You just kind of assume that it's part of the deal. Okay, we'll do it. Whenever it comes up, we'll just deal with it when it comes, like, because it's just part of the experience. Welcome to your new experience. Yeah. So fun. Yeah. So those of you who are on, thanks for being on. Does anybody have any questions? Because I can see your comments. Nikki can't, but I can tell her. You have a question for her. I think this whole I freaking love talking about spirit communication. How can they find you, Nikki? How do they know where to go? Thank you.
Yeah, how can you find me? Okay, probably the easiest place is on Instagram at Soul Dr. Tarot. That's probably because you can click the link in my bio and it'll take you to everything else that I do. Yeah. And I'm on Facebook at Soul Dr. Tarot as well. And that's probably the easiest way to find me and learn about all of the things that I do, because there's a lot.
There is a lot. There's a lot. Yeah. And that's how, same thing. If you're interested in learning more about, Michelle says you ladies are badass. I saw badass and I had to stop mid-sentence because I'm laughing. She's having great conversation today. I'm teaching a spirit communication course here at the end of the month. So if you want to learn how to start tapping into this stuff, come and join me. And you can message me or you can find me at my website at ginastrole.com. /spirit communication. So, I've enjoyed our little chat today. Charity, I know Charity did make a comment. My journey this year started with past life regression and ended up going into hypnotherapy for healing. And hypnotherapy is a great way to do healing as well. I have done past life regression and hypnotherapy and all the things. I think those of us who seek it out we go where we're led. So
I healed my fear of fire in past life regression. So there you go.
Yeah, we heal all of the nice little witches' wounds and all of the healers. Yeah, there's so much that goes into healing, and I think it's such a big, it's expansive, but yet it's not. Like, I believe we came here. I'm in a healing life. You obviously are too, or we wouldn't be sitting here together in the same room. I believe people that are attracted to us are also in that healing lifetime for themselves, because I don't believe every lifetime is a healing lifetime. Sometimes we're teaching other people lessons. Sometimes we're healing. Sometimes we're doing all the things. Like, it just depends. Charity's saying I love learning through my journey. Absolutely, because it is an amazing journey. So,
and it's good to be able to look at it that way.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I think we take a lot of the pressure off ourselves when we understand that it is a journey. It's not a sprint to the end. It's not about the marathon. It's not about, I have a lot of people that jump into healing and they're like, let's just get this done. Let's just get it over with. And I'm like, well, good luck with that. Because
when it's over, you're dead.
Yeah. And even then, you're at the past life review going, wait a minute, what? I got to do that over again. No!
Oh, shoot, I shouldn't have hurried through it.
Right? I should have stopped and smelled the roses and taken time to feel all the feelings, like you say, because there's nothing wrong. We talk about mediumship and we're talking about major grief and we're talking about all the things, and there's nothing wrong with that experience. And I think it's what we tell ourselves about it that is the problem. And I know even when my brother passed away, that was, I mean, I've lost other people in my life, but it's like, that was a big one for me. The age, kind of like you with your mom, like just the whole age thing, it set me in a tailspin for a while. And so for me, it doesn't surprise me that it came up again for me this year in such a profound way. And I felt so connected to my brother when all of this was going on, because it was like his way of saying, here's the final piece for you. Let's be done with this so that we can move forward and do what we need to do. And so what a gift they give to us if we will allow them to do that for us. And so give your loved ones permission to work with you. Like, they need that permission from you. They really do. Like, they want to help you. They want to do it all, but they also understand that you have to make your own choices and do your own thing too. So give them permission to work with you. Give them permission to be with you. So yeah, Charity's saying it's layers and layers of work. It truly is. Like, there's always a learning process. There's always growth to be had. So anybody who comes into your life, difficult, non-difficult, they're here to teach you some lessons. So is there anything else you would like to add, Nikki?
No, I think that's good. This has been fun. Thank you for having me.
It has been so fun. I've enjoyed talking with you today, and I think you're just amazing. So
the feeling is mutual.
If anybody has been drawn to Nikki today, get a hold of her, message her, DM her, connect with her, because she has made an impact on many women's lives, and I know she will continue to do that. Nikki and I definitely have had a connection, and I love working with other people who, I don't know, we just have that soul connection. So I appreciate you talking with me today. I appreciate you coming and doing the live. Share the live later. I tagged you in the thing this morning, but you can share it. And so Charity's saying thank you. We appreciate you all being here. So thanks for being part of our world, and thanks for listening to us. So I hope you guys all got something out of this, because that's our goal here, is to help and to serve. So have a fantastic Thursday, and we will see you all very soon.